So what's up, guys? Today we're talking about the death penalty. The death penalty, is always a controversial issue, right? Because most people always argue that about like rare cases about like what if the convict is actually innocent, and wouldn't that be unfair? And in that regard, I actually think it's probably worth it. Yeah, first off, this is extremely rare because death penalty is never given lightly. Um, it's only given to like murderers, rapists, traitors, and these people. Like there's a very high burden of evidence to actually convict these people of these crimes, and in that regard, I actually think um, it's pretty clear if someone is convicted of this and is sentenced to death, then they are most likely guilty. Like in a lot of cases in like America, a death penalty takes like uh, is mostly overturned based on like faulty evidence or something, where the person actually probably did the crime, but and obviously most of violent crime in America is caused by black people, and especially extremely violent crime because black people just are like that. Um, and in that regard, it's always a highly politicized issue when they're being executed because well, they're black, so they must be innocent. The argument goes, but the fact is, even the exonerated ones probably actually were guilty, but were released on for political reasons. Like we can't execute another black person right now. The PR is going to be too bad. The Jewish media is going to be very pissed at this, even though that person is clearly guilty and will probably do it again if we release them. Um, we just have to release them. They are too black to be executed. Um, Obviously, this kind of argument is never given to white people because white people are the default, right? We are the only ones actually being held to standards. We are the only ones who actually have to follow laws. And the issue obviously is also in America is that it actually takes incredibly long to prosecute a death sentence. Like it takes 20 to 30 years for someone to get executed, even though that's basically a life sentence, right? You're executing an old man at that point. And all that time, for these 20, 30 years, they're being fed at the taxpayer's expense. Often the taxes of the victims go directly in to the feeding of the criminal. And I think that's absolutely disgusting. Um, I think the death penalty should be painless, so that potentially innocent people, if they exist, don't have to suffer much. It should be quick so that the convict doesn't live off the taxpayer's expense for too long, at most like a year until it's prosecuted. And it should be frequent actually, because well, it would have a genic effect. There's in violent crime, there's always a difference. Like petty thieves, for example, are usually driven by desperation and poverty. Um, like manslaughter and other antisocial, no, weird way to call manslaughter, but like you get it. Most non-intentional forms of violent crime are caused by mental illness. These white people, like with other races, most of the time they are all mentally ill. But at least according to our standards, there's a lot of cases recently where non-white criminals were being acquitted because they were literally too stupid to face trial, even though according to the same standards, like most blacks, for example, are too stupid to face trial. Most have an IQ of under 80. So this argument should not work. This defense should not be allowed because it applies to a whole race, basically. And we can't incarcerate them all. But should we? In my opinion, they shouldn't even be in the country, right? They should be in their own countries, in Africa, where they can be left to their own devices. But obviously, when they're here, the argument isn't if a black person commits a crime, but when. And when a black person commits a crime, will the justice system actually prosecute something that was inevitable? Because all black people will eventually cause a crime, or will they search for excuses? Yeah, but this is obviously a huge issue, right? The I again, the Chinese actually have a very neat idea. They have something called execution vans, where they drive with this, like it looks like an ambulance, and they drive to the place where this person lives. They drag him to the van and give him a lethal injection and harvest harvest the organs, right? And I think that's a great idea, because that would obviously cause like a final redemption in a way. Like the criminal could in that way repay their debt to society by literally paying in form of organs, and maybe even save some lives. Um, so that's a great idea, in my opinion. Some people might consider it grotesque, but actually, I have never had an issue with the grotesque if it's done in a justifiable manner. Um, so also the issue is again a lot of people are going to have to be executed, sometimes entire ethnic groups, and this is because there's always a percentage of the population which can't be rehabilitated no matter what. And I think actually prison shouldn't even exist, right? Most crimes belong to three groups. Either it's done out of poverty and desperation, in which case prison will do nothing, because when they're out again, they will just do it again because they have no money, right? So the best way to combat this is to combat poverty itself, to allow everyone, and I think this is a great idea. A good first step would be to establish some sort of soup kitchen where everyone under a certain income can get a free meal. Because like a proper sustenance is the first step to combat poverty. Because if you're really poor, you can't even eat properly. You don't get enough nutrients, so you don't have enough energy to actually work. So you can't make money. So you can't get your way out of poverty. So hunger is the first thing that needs to go. So okay, desperation. That's one part. The other part is mental illness and drug abuse, and this has something to do with poverty again. The poverty certainly amplifies this, um, and I've seen it in my own region, in my own area. I live in a pretty bad neighborhood, and I actually have seen myself what drug use can do to people. There's like totally normal young people that should have every chance in the world. Like I've talked to some of these people. Some of these people are my friends, which are just not given a chance, so they turn to drugs. And drugs are easy to get, really easy to get, and they make you forget everything. But they also make you act in certain ways which you wouldn't act in other ways, which you never would. It makes you do things you would never do if you were sober, and in that regard, these people should also be helped in social ways. Prison isn't for them. They are not actually evil people. They are not people who need to be punished. They are people who need therapy, who need alleviation of poverty, who need a sense of purpose in life. In that regard, there should be social institutions like I don't know, the the Boy Scouts or the Hitler Youth or something in that regard. Something to give people, young people especially, structure and discipline in life, a sense of purpose, a sense of perspective, a sense of aim, a chance to pursue a career. Everyone has some talent. Everyone has something they can contribute. And and then there's the third group, the undesirables. Those people, they often don't even have financial issues, or if they have financial issues, they aren't really bothered by them. They are just antisocial. They want to commit crime. They want to be violent. They like being violent. They just do it because they have an impulse to. It's like total psychopaths, like psychopaths, sociopaths, black people, Muslims, all these people all fundamentally think the same, and they cannot be rehabilitated. Not even prison is good for them. They just need to be put down, right? They have no possibility of being rehabilitated. They have no possibility of changing their ways. There is no wrong path they stepped on. They know what they're doing. And what they're doing is parasitical. It's harming society. And the only solution for them is not to permanently incarcerate them or even just partially incarcerate them. They just do not contribute to society. Incarceration would be an incredibly injustice, in fact, because that way they would be paid for and sustained by the taxpayer. No, they just have to be executed. And they can be humanely executed, obviously. This can be done in a very humane and civilized manner. We are not barbarians. They can just be given like a lethal injection and fall asleep and never wake up. This is very easy to do. It's fairly cheap, actually, and at least much cheaper than having them alive. So there's that. And another issue is, and this is a bit extreme maybe, but I actually think a big issue right now is that we are not killing these percentages of undesirables in our population, we are actively bringing new people from that percentage here. Like recently, like there has been this terror attack in Germany about this known multiple rapist in Saudi Arabia, which was given asylum, and the asylum policy is totally insane. Like, why the hell do we give asylum to anyone, especially criminals? Like, what's the argument? Oh, they will be executed in their home country. Good. Then we don't have to worry about them, because whatever they have done in their home countries to warrant them being killed, they will do here too. They will do that here too. Obviously. So why the hell are we bringing them here? Because then we have to kill them. And obviously, right now we can't kill them. Right now we have basically no power. Our politicians are actively collaborating against us. They rather would kill us than those undesirables. But with the looming Third World War, we have an opportunity to seize power again. And when that happens, a lot of people are going to flee, right? A lot of people are going to leave on their own devices, and those will be the lucky ones, because the rest we are going to have to kill. And in that regard, we have to be indiscriminate. We are not going to be able to weed out the criminals from the innocents. In that regard, it's going to be a race war, right? Their skin color is going to be their uniform, and their uniform is that of a hostile force. So It's unfortunate that it has to come to this. I'd rather prefer if all nations would harmonize with each other, if the blacks could live in peace and prosperity in Africa and we would trade with them maybe, but on equal terms, and all races would be equal in their own nations. That would be ideal, right? But obviously, this isn't working like this. And there are hostile forces that have taken over the West, the countries of the whites, and the other races are actively benefiting from this, actively taking advantage of this position of weakness. And there's going to have to be retribution for this. There have been so many absolutely horrible, disgusting, and violent sadistic crimes going on in Europe, committed by immigrants, by Muslims, adult Muslim men who were torturing, gang raping, and abusing, killing little girls. Like, they could be their daughters, and they are raping them. They are forcing them to be raped by dogs. They are filming that. They are showing that to these children to further torture them. They are strangling them with ropes and pimping them out and doing absolutely disgusting things which any normal person, any white person, couldn't even imagine doing to someone. Like when the war happens, the civil war happens, and we're going to have to kill them all. We are still not going to take pleasure in that, right? This is not going to be some sort of sadistic revenge. This is going to be like a rational uh, policy which has to be done to maintain deterrence. Like, we're going to have to kill them, but we are not going to take pleasure in that. We are not going to be happy about this. It's still going to stain our morality. It's still going to be a sin we will have to answer for. So this is actually a curse for us. So, but these people, they love it. They absolutely take glee and pleasure in raping children. And this is like Muslims. I don't want Muslims complaining about Epstein. Epstein was the same as them. Every single Pakistani man in Britain probably raped more children than Epstein in his entire life. So we are going to have to kill a lot of Epsteins, a lot of Muslim Epsteins, and a lot of Jewish Epsteins too. So in that regard, I'm a bit more sympathetic to the Jews because they're somehow a bit more white than the Muslims. Like, they are smarter than the Muslims. They have an IQ that I can relate to. So maybe you can actually negotiate with these people. You can negotiate with Muslims, at least not with Sunni Muslims. So that's obviously an issue. I personally am of the opinion that just killing them might not send the ideal signal. I think what is going to be necessary is to truly terrify them, to truly send a signal that, look, anyone who comes here who does not look like us, who does not act like us, will be basically crucified and their corpse displayed at the Mediterranean. And we have like 50 million Muslims here, so we're going to have need a lot of crosses. So that's obviously something that we don't want to think about, something that might come over as barbaric, because it is barbaric. It is a barbaric act, obviously, but we're going to have to do it. Otherwise, they are never going to take us seriously. Otherwise, we are never going to reestablish deterrence. We are never going to reestablish international respect for us, for our race. If we can't be loved, and obviously we can't be loved, we have been loved for a long time. We have been helping the other races along the way all of the time. White people have brought humanitarian missions on every continent. We have saved so many lives in Africa. We have saved so many lives in South America. We have saved so many lives in India, and we are not getting any thanks for that. That's not how the world works. That's not how evolution works. Those that share with others but isn't shared with will go extinct. That's the deal, right? and we cannot allow ourselves to go extinct. If we ever get threatened with extinction, we should rather destroy the entire planet and all of humanity alongside it. God forbid this ever happens, but this is deterrence, right? We need our own Samson option for our race. And yeah, that's obviously a very dark topic. But yeah, obviously, a lot of people are going to have to die. And the best thing we can do right now is to try to make it humane, to try to not cause additional suffering, but also not forget that we have to make our enemies afraid. We have to establish that we are dangerous. And we have lost this ability. We have lost the respect of the world with our weakness, with our um, humanitarian tendencies. And this can't go on. If we want to live, we have to start to kill. We have to start killing. Anyways, this is it for today. Don't forget, never lose a smile, and bye.